Final call for the Milllenniule Express.
Making 65 stops along the way, which will include some of the most famous landmarks, as well as novelties and curios. It'll be the journey of a lifetime.
Fare forward, voyagers. Merry Christmas and good Yule. Long live Europa.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to day one of complaining about Milllenniule. Sorry, I got carried away for a moment there. Well, today's guest, right up first, is Claire Gore.
Hello.
Hi Claire, would you like to introduce yourself to the Milllenniule audience?
Oh, I should have practiced my Scottish accent.
Tell the
Yours is
audience
quite
a
good.
little bit about yourself, would you, my dear?
Well, I've been watching Millleniyule. I've been trying to watch it, but I never finished watching it. But before we started, I watched the one with the German one because I thought I might try and get him on Karani Yule. But I haven't really watched any of them. Oh yes, I watched the John Waters one, and that was a bit annoying because I wasn't able to post in the chat as I would want, and I think he's censoring words like neocon and Pakistani, and I think that's going a bit far. Because when John Waters was complaining about immigration, I was going, yeah, it's because the neocons have turned the West into a series of economic zones. And a Pakistani contact I knew who lived in Canada was complaining that he didn't like living in an economic zone and he preferred to live in a proper country, even if the natives didn't like him. And I couldn't post that comment until I was told that if I posted something like "This is the best millennial ever," it would get through, and I did do that, and it worked.
Well, that's great. And have you been banned off Twitter?
No, I'm still on Twitter. I'm still I just been a
Look,
bit busy today.
I'm joking, everyone. We're not going to go through that whole show like that. I'm very sorry about that. So we'll get back down to earth now. Look, I want to thank you all for coming, by the way. Just a couple of announcements before we get started. I've been working late this week, so I've not been able to stream at all. There's like 4 people off sick at my work, so I've been working late. I wasn't able to do the stream with David last night again for like the 3rd week in a row, but hopefully we'll manage to do that again at some point. David and I haven't fallen out or anything like that, but I've been very busy. Now, before Claire Court and I go into our complaints about Milllenniule, I would like to just start the show by saying that Milllenniule Ways does a difficult job. Streaming is difficult. It's not... I know you might not believe that. Streaming itself is not difficult, but making an interesting show it isn't just as easy as you might think. And I certainly found out when I began having guests on that it wasn't as easy as just switching on the stream and making interesting content happen. So yes, he has a lot more experience than me, but he's also such an introspective person that I imagine he spent fucking hours, hundreds of hours, just like, I don't know, shitting a brick about doing Millennial before it happens every year. So what I'm trying to say is he does a good job of putting it together. I want to give him credit where credit is due. Lots of people have lots of complaints and criticisms about it, but in general, the large body of people receive Milleniule in a positive and good spirited way. Have I made a good enough caveat, Clark, there before we get going? I don't just want to unrighteously shit all over Milleniule without saying nice things.
I don't want to particularly. I mean, obviously he's kind of cornered the market in Christmas season streams, and he has spent a lot of time on the graphics, which obviously means that I can't compete, and he has made it a brand, which is actually quite hard to steal from him. Because, obviously it's not just a matter of, talking to people at Christmas time, which is kind of what Millleniyule is, but I just make a point of being kinder to people, and even then, I kind of lose patience with certain people. Well, people like this annual nationalist fest, I suppose. And in a way, so do I. But there's too much censorship. That's what we're saying, isn't it? And it has become dull because of the almost treacle-like censorship that you sense is going on. But there's been a lot of gossip about it, and that's also fun.
Yes, so we've just had a few complaints about volume in the chat, so I've increased Claire's volume a little. I've also reduced mine a little. Let me know if you think we need to make further adjustments, and I think we'll get there in the end.
I'm sort mine is about 80% now, so I don't quite understand why people are having a problem hearing me.
I think it's the levels. Mine was a little louder than yours, and so balance is good, says Nudge Unit. Okay. Yeah, all these things are tricky to get going on a live stream, so like Millennial Ways does do an excellent job of that. He started with a few technical issues this year. I don't know if you noticed any of those, Claire, but like he's screwed up on some of the technology. For whatever reason, he's not streaming to Rumble this year. I think that's a big mistake. He even said he didn't know if Odyssey was going to be even still in existence, but he decided to make it the main place that he would be streaming.
In both places under Restream, where you can stream on multiple platforms, can't you? I mean, I recently learned how to stream on Rumble, so it's not that hard.
Yeah, for whatever reason, he just hasn't got around to doing it.
Yeah, I think for the John Waters stream, he apparently he couldn't read the comments, and he didn't read the super chats on Entropy.
All that. I mean, these are real nitpicks, of course. I mean, who am I to tell Millennial Waves how to do streaming? Basically, would be the rational antidote to what I'm saying here. I'm nobody, but I think he would have done better had he done a bit more testing before, like before it got going. All he does is like the AMA to start with, and that doesn't really test it out with guests, I guess, does it? But anyway, those are not my actual complaints. What you were saying, flesh out what your main complaint was again for me there.
Well, the censorship, the terrible
What do you
censorship.
mean?
I told you at the beginning about this what I thought was an innocuous comment about a Pakistani contact of mine from Canada who happened to be an anti-Semite, but I just remembered it because he was complaining that Canada was didn't feel like a proper country. It was only an economic zone, and this feeds to my theme of America basically dividing the West up into economic zones to fit its convenience. And that was that was all I tried to post, and I couldn't post it. So it made me think that Millennial Woes is censoring the word neocon, maybe, which would be very disturbing.
So I think you're mistaken about this. So I was watching the stream at the same time as you were, and I got you to test by saying something nice. I think you were just mistaken, and either what happened was he's probably put in blocked words. He's probably put the slurs blocked out, and your comment probably had the word, in quotes, Paki in it when you were writing.
I didn't say Paki. I made a point. It was Pakistan.
You said Pakistan, so it's probably just picked it up like that.
Okay.
So I think, look,
Pakistani.
yeah, but it's probably picked up Paki, hasn't it, in the word? So that's probably what's happened there. Look, we don't really know when comments get censored, who's doing what. I wouldn't blame him for that.
Well, I mean,
To
it
be
takes the fun
honest.
out of it if it's censored left, right, and centre. But I'm talking about his Substack as well. I asked a question when I was getting into an exchange about unmarried mothers, and I asked somebody who was challenging me if she was a married mother, and he came marching in saying, you can't say that, you're creating an atmosphere, in this sort of nice
Yeah.
civilized.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, so now we're getting into it. Right, rather than just your chats, I can fully appreciate, Claire, why somebody might even ban you out of their channel because of your annoying text comments. So this is what I'm trying to say. I wouldn't blame really anybody who gets frustrated with your comments in their chat and thinks, what the hell is going on here? This is not a bloody Islamic show. This is not Claire Cor's bloody Quran program here. What am I doing letting this woman run riot in my chat room here, pushing all the boundaries like you know that you do, and then banning you out of it? So
I do.
I know you do. You know you do it. I know
Yeah,
you
but
do
I
it.
was being careful. Whether I wasn't sort of, commenting out of the blue. I mean, it
Yeah.
was the immigration comment, was in response to what John Waters was saying. They were both whinging about immigration and how the government doesn't care, and that was why I said it. I wasn't even being off topic. I was responding to what people were saying. So it's not fair for you to say I just go into people's chat and say secular Quranism until I get kicked out.
No, of course you do. You do that. You do that. We know that you do. Come on.
Not on this occasion.
Look,
If I ever.
Look, I've been in enough groups and enough chats with you to know your modus operandi, how you go about. You annoy the shit out of people everywhere that you go. So basically what I'm saying is I don't think we can blame people for
No, I don't.
wanting...
But other people have been complaining about the censorship. That's the other thing I was talking about.
Yeah, we're going to get to that. We're going to get to what actually we're talking about when we say censorship. Because basically I'm framing this as in, I don't care that he's moderating his chat, either getting rid of slur words, getting rid of Islamophiles, or any of that kind of shit. I just think that is a natural thing to do. By the way, you in the TBR Loyalist group, you're looking there too, by the way, already. I think you've noticed and calmed it down a little. Haven't you? But
Well, I do a mixture of propagating my stuff and responding to what people are saying.
yes. but I know you well enough, and there's very few people who are like me to tolerate you, basically. You've seen it. People say, why are you having this woman around? What are you doing? And I get a lot of shit for it, Claire, just for associating with you. Not that I think there's anything
Yes, I'm
particularly...
afraid you'll probably never be invited on Milleniule because of your association with me.
Well, look, I've burnt bridges just by being willing to speak. What's the word? To speak my mind about other characters within the movement. I hate this word, movement. Within the community, on the scene, just not right characters who are out there trying to make an indecent buck, and there's people like me who dare to go online and make jokes about them. So I've burnt bridges already, but yeah, so whatever. I don't care about the people I associate with. If people don't like me for that, that's fine. But that brings us to what is the actual censorship going on Milllenniule. And really, it's the Karening of the movement, the Karening of conversations that I think is the big problem.
Who is the Karen?
Who is the Karen? I don't want to say. But when the Karening goes on, and look, I don't like the term Karen, by the way. I think it's an anti-white slur because it effectively means a white woman who is policing, like policing standards, basically.
A tone policing white woman.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So I don't like it, but it's appropriate. Okay, so there's just no getting around it. It's the best fitting term for somebody who's tone policing and saying, why do you have to be talking about other people in the movement? What's wrong with you? It's wrong. Why don't we all just get along and sing Kumbaya? I turned into a pirate there. But speak to that a little while I find a clip. Yes.
I didn't see the tone policing in action, but I know people were complaining about it. I didn't see. I missed the Keith Wood stream. Did you watch that one?
Yes, I did. Why didn't you see that? That was.
I don't know. I was just doing other stuff, and then I thought, oh, it's been on already, and I missed it. What did you think of it?
Yes, Keith Woods' appearance was of interest. I mean, it was. Bear with me. I've lost you somehow. You can still hear me, can't you?
Oh, yeah.
Yep, you can hear me. So, yeah, why? Just bear with me. I'm having a technical difficulty here, ladies and gentlemen. So, Keith Woods' stream was interesting, but it was just a decent interview, all about like Keith's successes on Twitter over the past year, which have been numerous. Many are worth talking about, and his interactions about like the ban the ADL thing, and then basically his anti-Israeli war stuff, and that kind of thing. So it morphed into a discussion about like the rights and wrongs of the Israeli-Hamas conflict over there. But Keith had a lot to discuss about the fact that he's grown his account. He's become this big guy who's networking via Twitter growing an audience and having success. But what it didn't talk about, what was unsaid, was like the many arguments that, like the interfactionalism within the movement, like the nitty gritty, the things that people wanted to hear about, the gossip, the argument with academic agent, the falling out, that kind of thing, the gossip, so everything is given this like glossed over. It's like you're preparing your best face for. It's almost as if you're going on like commercial television or a commercial radio show rather than an amateur platform, and you've decided to sanitize it and say these none of these things should be talked about because they're going to make us all look bad. Mm-hmm. And so what we're going to do is give like the polished face. We're going to put the polished face on. Am I making any sense?
Yes, of course you are. But I mean, that's not what people want. They want a bit of news and gossip and edgy things being said and you know, some more than, oh, nobody listens to us. What can we do? Blame the news.
Yes. Which was basically the John Waters stream, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. And the thing is, people know that, you know, only certain people would be allowed, and that there's no real spontaneity. It's sort of, well, I mean, I like to think I don't even know what I'm going to say. I don't know what my guest is going to say, and it's actually more fun. And I've been in on streams where everything's so tightly controlled. You know, oh, you're going to talk, and then the other guest is going to talk, and the other guest is going to talk, and then we're going to do a strict rotation, and you can only say, and it's like, that's so frustrating, and it's unwatchable. You know. And really, people actually, I think they actually want a dialogue, because, you know, they can just follow dialogue. He said this, and then in response something else was said, and they can kind of follow the logic of this sort of thing. Not, oh, somebody speaks for 3 minutes and another person speaks for another 3 minutes and another, you know, I can't listen to it. Nobody cares. Everybody's forgotten by the time. Well, I think you know what I mean.
I think you're mistaking the amount of people that are up for that, actually. There's an incredible amount of the audience who are there essentially, like, pardon the vulgarity, but like masturbating at being part of this like cozy place where they think, oh, it's so wonderful. We're all here being right wing together. Oh, isn't it wonderful how we're all being nice and kind to each other and listening to each other, and we're all a community, and we're all right wing, and we're all here in the distant right, and this is so lovely, and it's Christmas time, and I love millennial woes, and the guests are wonderful, and I could listen to them all day talk about how nobody's paying attention to them on Twitter. This is so wonderful. Fap. There is a sizable audience for that. I don't blame people for that either. I think I was in that zone a few years ago. Okay, listening to it, not feeling any of the, not noticing that you're being given a sanitized product, basically. But I think we're being too harsh already. I think this is a little bit too harsh.
You're
because
sanitizing what you just said. Let it
No, I'm not. Do you think so?
Well, I don't know. I mean, the thing is, whatever you
I'm
do,
trying to walk a line
come
here.
and throw rocks at you, and
Yeah.
I think of Thomas Barton Rees saying, yes, I'd like to be on Millenniyule with Millenniyule, but I can't submit to this never criticising the other guests thing. And I thought,
Yes.
no, I wouldn't be able to do it either. I mean, I guess I'd just sort of, you know, agree to go on and then criticise them and never be invited back again. I mean, that's the only way I could, you know, do it. And
So-
actually, it's a good thing. It's a good thing that people are criticizing, and that is where you get the, characters in a national soap opera thing.
Soap
You
opera,
know,
yeah.
and that is how you sell it. That you have characters. It's not just ideas and their private lives that maybe you want to mock or whatever, and that's the only way to make it interesting.
Yeah, you're right about that, but look, I'm trying to walk a line here of how to explain this thing, because I think both sides are correct. Millennial Ways does do a good job. So it is the place where people come on for like a 1.5 hour slot, and in that slot they're going to basically give their best presentation. The problem is, everybody knows that this thing is not all unicorns and rainbows and everybody gets along and everybody's singing from one hymn sheet. It's nothing like that whatsoever. There are many disagreements. Also, this isn't a like an opposition government in waiting, okay, who has to pitch itself in a in an appealing fashion. For instance, we, unlike say 2016, when we thought that like these people or many people in the distant right thought that they were like basically going to be like appointed positions in Trump's government, believe it or not.
Yes,
or
Richard
anything
Spencer
like,
certainly did.
or anything like that. Okay, we're not there now. We are now groups of people who are the product of a long history of conflict, and people have very different ideas about the way forward. Okay, there've been lots of conflicts, and also there has been infighting, and like the conflict between Keith Woods and Academic Agent, for instance. Everybody
Tell us
knows about
I
it.
missed all that, so maybe fill me in on the gossip. What were they arguing about?
Wait, I just said so
About
everybody knows
naming
about
tunes
it,
or something.
and even you don't know about it.
Okay.
Oh, holy shit. So, look, no. The origin of the Keith Woods and Academic Agent falling out essentially was that Keith Woods made a video which was titled Against Academic Agent. And Academic Agent took that very personally. Okay, this is kind of the truthful reason why he didn't like it. I think he's probably more annoyed at the title more than anything, because in that video Keith didn't attack him personally whatsoever. But he flipped out about that. And then essentially, because of that, Keith and Joel made up a rude name about him and went around on Telegram and that calling him Pacademic Agent. So he absolutely then did flip his lid about that. And
What, implying that he has some Paki blood?
yeah, I mean, it doesn't even make any sense because he's not from Pakistan. He's Iranian. So it was
Yes.
just it was just a silly name. It's done on purpose, just to rhyme and be funny and to deliberately instigate him. So they knew what they were doing. It was basically Joel who made up the name. They went around the internet calling him that at every opportunity. And throughout the year, even Keith has done it. He just slips it in when he's speaking about him. Like he'll start talking. He'll speak about Academic Agent, but then he'll just slip into it and call him Academic Agent and things like that. So then there was another incident where Joel Davis apparently. So shortly before this as well, I think Academic Agent came to the conclusion that Joel Davis must be a Fed, because when he visited the UK, he met up with Academic Agent shortly before him and Keith went on, I think, a trip to Serbia for a week or something like that. And before heading off on that trip, he asked Academic Agent, who has like 2 houses in London, if he could just leave a suitcase at one of his houses while he went on this like backpacking trip with Keith. And Academic Agent assumed, therefore, that like he must be leaving him a suitcase full of drugs or something, and so he refused it, and thereafter labelled him a Fed on the internet. So, yeah, the suitcase incident says milk it. Yeah,
Right.
these things kind of happened at the same time, and
Yes.
so they fell out. But then. So there's all this, all this behind the scenes. And then it culminates in Milllenniule this year. Academic Agent was meant to have the penultimate spot. Millenial had said the format was going to run exactly the same as last year, with Academic Agent followed by Morgoth. At the last minute, it appears that Academic Agent has just pulled out of the show.
Did he give a reason?
No, from my understanding, he's not mentioned it. So everybody's assumed that it's because Keith Woods is on the show. Is on the show this year.
But Academic Agent is pretty, anti-Jew, isn't he? And Keith Woods is known for maybe being slightly more anti-Jew than Academic Agent. Is that correct? Would you say?
What's your point? What's that got to do with it?
Well, I it was AA saying he won't be on Millennial Woes because he doesn't approve of one of his guests, who might be described as an anti-Semite. It was that. Are we? That might be the reason, I suppose. Is that what you were suggesting?
Sorry, say that again. Who said what?
Do you think AA pulled out of Milleniule because he thought Keith Woods would be labelled as an anti-Semite and he didn't want guilt by association?
No, absolutely not. I don't think it's anything to do with that.
Okay. What do you think
I think
might be the reason?
If he was going to say that, that would be an absolute cope. There's been Millennial Ways is considered as extreme as Keith Woods. Yeah. What I think the reason is just because because Millennial Woes invited Keith Woods, and Academic Agent has said, anybody who even associates with Keith Woods, you're dead to me, because he has such a thin skin, and he basically turned this into like a blood feud over it. And he has this issue where this is why it's interesting to talk about. You see, everybody knows it. Everybody knows it's going on in the movement, and he has become this character who has factionalized the community. Okay, he is not happy. He is the one who is not happy with like people agreeing to disagree. It's either his way or the highway, and he has formed this faction. Okay, where he gathers these people around him, and then he dictates who is allowed to associate with who. And if you're seen to be associating with somebody he doesn't like, then you're exiled. You're expelled from his inner circle. And so he's been creating this, and it's been his modus operandi for basically the last 2 years. Okay, I started commenting on it about a year ago when I noticed it, or whatever it was, a bit more. And I was doing it in a tepid way, lightly mocking and making light fun of it. But it accelerated, and to the point where, like, he says, anybody who associates with Keith Woods, you're dead to me, and he will block you on sight. Just like if you've are speaking to Keith Woods, unless you have a bigger platform and a big audience than him, and by doing so, and it being seen that he does so, he potentially will lose pay pigs, as in paying customers, or part of his audience. In that case, then he will hypocritically turn a blind eye to it. As is the case with, for instance, the guy who runs... who is the guy? There's a guy, an American guy who does a podcast. I forgot his name now. There's an American guy who does a podcast, and he basically told AA that he wasn't having any of that, and decided to have Keith Woods on his show. Mm-hmm. And also Thomas 777, that guy,
yes,
has had an interaction with Keith Woods. But anyway, we're focusing too much on Keith Woods. But this is like, it's an interesting thing. But this is, of course, the last thing, the absolute last thing that Millleniyule could ever bring up on his show. It would be an anathema to him to even have this mentioned. He would shudder inside, I think, and shatter into 1,000 pieces if any of this was even hinted at. In fact, I'm absolutely sure he probably instructed Keith not to bring it up, not to mention it whatsoever.
What a shame, because, I mean, if he said, what do you have to say about AA, then I think yes, there would be more viewers.
Yeah.
Like, tell us what exactly happened, and,
Yeah.
oh, that would be great.
Yeah. I mean, you could just add, and Keith, would you like to shit on Academic Agent a little, please?
Yes, what is the background between your... Is it ideological or personal?
Yeah. Is it true that you and Academic Agent had a falling out this year? Or something like that.
Yes. Oh, that would be so cool.
Yeah. Look, during this stream here, this porphyrogenitus, Millleniyule gave his thoughts on what we've been discussing, basically the value of interpersonal disagreements, let's call them that. So shall we just listening for us for a minute here?
Yes, please.
Hopefully you can hear it.
Problem is that people aren't paid.
Oh yeah.
There's no salary structure, and therefore there's...
Wait, I'll just rewind it a little. Hold on.
Well, I heard it loud and clear.
Okay.
Shared positive vision beyond a very broad one,
I would say it's... I mean, I do agree that that's a problem, but I think a greater problem is that people aren't paid.
Oh, yeah.
There's no salary structure, and therefore there's no command structure by which people can be told to just shut the fuck up and behave yourselves.
It's true.
Stop falling out. Stop attacking each other. Stop bitching about him. Stop spreading rumors about him. So things escalate. Things get out of hand, and then eventually you've got a rivalry, acrimony, where there needn't have been any. And this is why I always tell people, don't even start shit, because you don't know how far it's going to go.
No.
Just don't. Attack the enemy, not your own people, for fuck's sake.
That's a very good point, because one of the things that, and having been in academia, I started my undergraduate journey back when there was still, you would get a nice pat on the head for, if you liked, say, Hayek, right? Or if you said you liked Nozick, or you said you liked Alistair McIntyre, and not, one of the...
No, and then this old boomer, I don't even think he listened to what Millleniyule said there, just goes off onto some nonsense.
That's not Kevin McDonald, is it? It was one of the ones Kevin. I listened to anyway.
This is Porphyry. I can't even say it. Rogenitus.
Right. Yeah, I think I did listen to part of that one because it sounded familiar. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I've got another little bit.
Go on.
I'm sure that there was racism,
Yeah.
here and there. But my point is that white people are individualistic, and again, that goes back to the problem you mentioned earlier about the movement, how we're so given to falling out with each other, because we do still, even in this desperate time, we still think we've got the luxury of fighting with each other and infighting when we just don't. I don't know how obvious it could possibly be, and yet people don't get it. So I think that this is obviously something about the white race. It's obviously something about white people, especially white men. But mind you, white women can be very bitchy to each other as well.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, white men. And again, it's like it's sick because this is actually part of what makes us. It's one of our qualities that we are so individualistic. It's one of our qualities that we do strike out on our own and build our own thing and all that. But and have our own minds.
To get back to what and relate to this, that we're individualistic, but we also have this sense of fair play that was the great strength when we were rising up.
Yes,
but when we get accused of not being like engaging in unfair play to the others, we're like, well, maybe we.
And then this boomer guy again just takes it off on a different tangent. But what do you think about what Millennial Rose is saying there? Why the hell won't people just shut the fuck up and toe the line?
Well, actually, it's important for all these sort of personal disagreements to be an indicator as to character, right? I mean, what you said about AA. He's a snowflake. He likes surrounding himself with yes men. Is this a sign of good leadership? I would suggest not. And let it all hang out. Let people expose themselves. So we understand their motivations and limitations a bit better. I just don't see why he has to be the mother hen, like he was in charge of a class of kindergarten children. There's no need for that. There's no need for this mother hen approach.
Yeah. It really is a Karening, isn't it?
Yes, and the Karening is not being done by a woman. Actually, it's not.
No. Again, I say all this whilst understanding how difficult it is. Well, not really. It's not so,
if I had the influence of millennials, I'd be, I'd be a boxing promoter, a debate promoter. It's like, well, Keith, you don't like it. But would you like to kind of, just be in the stream with him until one of you gets tired? Let's call it cage fighting, or I don't know, nationalist cage fighting or whatever, and for people to basically, have all these things thrown at each other, that could be quite entertaining. I borne in mind what you said about making it entertaining, and I have quite a few ideas of making this very entertaining for people, and educational too, and not just about people's ideas, but how they respond to people being mean to them. Are they snowflakes? Do they allow criticism without hating you forever and wanting to to do terrible things to you?
Well, look, so what you're saying is you want to bring back the spirit of blood sports back to the internet. But the problem is, Claire, I don't think the characters, or many of them, are willing to do that. They'll have the interpersonal fights. The fights are going on. But really, these people are... certainly Academic Agent is afraid to publicly argue in a neutral platform with anyone. Absolutely.
Well, he's intellectually mediocre. I mean, does he? Am I wrong when he say when I say that his only idea that I can remember is that he's gonna hope that AAA is going to produce grandchildren who will challenge and defeat this government, and that's it. He's not going to be doing anything in his lifetime, right? That's his plan. How is that even viable? It's laughable, unless the stuff that he said that I missed.
That's another question as to whether people have realistic ideas about politics or not. I used to think they did. I've come round to recognizing that most of them are really only interested in maintaining their entertainment platforms on the internet. And somebody like AA really has zero clue about how politics works. I like like my eyes were open when I like suddenly realised that someone like Academic Agent, who's LARPing as like some kind of disgruntled high Tory or whatever, has zero connections to the Tory party or any kind of electoral politics whatsoever, and is just on the internet complaining about things and saying effectively, just give me power for power's sake and I'll fix everything, when really all I've done is factionalize like the internet community and act like a fucking despot who gets his knickers in a knot and throws his teddies out of the pram every time he has a hissy fit and says yeah, and that's my version of him crying
Of a baby crying.
Yeah,
but
throwing
when
his teddies
he
out
gets
the pram.
invited to the Traditional Britain group.
Well, it's simply
And
through the status
even
he's
high Tory, but he
accumulated.
associates them with the Traditional Britain group, and therefore he's called a high Tory. I mean, I know those people. I knew what TBG were called in previous incarnations, because it's the same people,
Look, he wouldn't call himself a Tory. I'm saying he's like a disaffected. He's from that wannabe class of people who feels disaffected with it, who blames.
Well, everybody's
whatever.
disaffected.
Yes.
I mean, the entire political class is disaffected. I mean, I know people at the bottom think the government doesn't care about them, but the government doesn't care about, people, in the ruling classes. I mean, it's been like that for centuries, It's like, they don't care about each other, and that is a dangerous thing, because if you don't care, if you in your ruling class don't care about each other, then you will be toppled by the peasants below.
I think many of these people discovered that there was no real way to kind of transfer online ideas into real world politics.
Yes, there is, but they, you see, they don't like each other because of their, rivalries. They can't even get along with each other well enough to, arrange a party or leave their luggage behind at one of their homes. But before I forget, because you were talking about high Tories, there was this woman I met through Ralph Masilamani, and she's the kind of the West Country set, one of them, and one of the things that she said to me was, I thought I was privileged, I come from the, she had some title or something, and it's like, and basically she's saying, you would have thought somebody like me would be okay, but I'm feeling the cold, and I know a few other people, whose fathers were writers and whatever, they can't write anything. If it's even just slightly politically incorrect, they're actually kicking people out who've been prominent figures in the intelligentsia. That's what they're doing. People who have been there for years are being kicked out, and they're not fighting back, and that is what's so dangerous. And it's all tied to academia, all these sort of dime a dozen academics trying to hang on to their jobs and therefore being prepared to say anything to hang on to their jobs and stab their colleagues in the front and the back. And
There is
one
this-
of them,
Yeah, go on.
I've forgotten his name now, but David, he wrote. He's this Etonian Labour man, and he wrote this book called The Road to Somewhere, and I did actually meet him more than a few times, but basically, they're sort of aware that it's feminism, it's people who aren't rootless cosmopolitans saying, well, we don't like all the changes we're seeing and we were never consulted and we hate it, and then recently I've discovered that these so-called rootless cosmopolitans who go from country to country selling their skills, well, they're finding it hard to settle down and find women to marry. So the demographic. David Goodhart was a man who wrote this book about why people are finding it hard, because he was Labour and he supported Brexit, and he made some noises supporting those who complained about immigration, and they basically kicked him out. And it doesn't even matter if you're racist or not racist, because Trump pulled out all the stops to say, look at my black supporters, look at my Hispanic supporters. I'm not racist, am I? But I identify as nationalist, and that's not allowed either. Basically, we're not prepared. We're not allowed to have any government that governs in our national interest. Not in any country in the West. Not allowed. It's not allowed. So you're not even allowed to be a civic nationalist. I mean, pathetic Nigel Farage. What is he doing? He's some part-time representative of this Brexit party, and now Brexit has supposedly happened. He's now on, get me out of here. And it's like, yeah, they'll bribe him, they'll allow him to exist, provided he doesn't say things that would really truly upset the apple cart. And I remember him saying that something might have to be done about the BBC licence fee, and then he never said it again. Because that's not allowed, right? That's not allowed.
Okay, well, look, that was quite a rant with lots of tangents there, Claire. But kind of what you're doing there is like reinforcing this thing that we all know, which is that if you say taboo things on the internet, then you're never going to make it into the mainstream. Okay, so kind of around 2018 or 2019, when the censorship started to kick in, and it really became clear that this kind of thing on the internet really kind of probably was like toxic, and you was going to tar you with a brush that would never allow you to get any kind of mainstream funding or any kind of mainstream traction. Some of the people who all the way along had really only had an eye upon their own fame and their own fortune decided to play the game a little differently, and decided to serve themselves first. And I think this is actually honestly the antithetical to how, say, Millennial Woes believes that everybody is actually going around doing things. Millennial Woes has this wonderful utopian ideal that everybody's in the movement, in order to save the white race or something like this. I think he honestly believes this. And this is everybody's honest and true goal. We're all here to save the white race, to save us all from mass immigration, and to solve this thing. And we're like a government in waiting. And at one day, the elites in charge will just say, well, fuck me, we were wrong, and we need these people in charge, and then we'll all move into power or something like that. I honestly think this is the mistaken assumption that somebody, and the idealistic assumptions that somebody like Millennial Woes operates under, for whom the scales have not been lifted from his eyes yet. So I think it's just like a wholly utopian, naive, idealistic view of things. And maybe part of this is due to spending effectively 8 out of 12 months of the year cocooned in his basement and not getting out or looking beyond his basement, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he has like this hermit approach, and he comes out once a year for Christmas, doesn't he? Basically.
Yeah, but it's not a piece of entertainment, really. I mean, if you're...
Well, it is. I mean, that is what it is. Millennial is entertainment first, or it should be. It is an entertainment product, but I think Woes has this genuine, idealistic view that he is putting on like the tombola of serious intellectuals of dissident politics.
Well, I think that there's a certain lack of a sense of urgency if you're sort of reducing it into seasons, and because really you used to be, well, what am I going to do next? How are we going to accomplish this? You don't wait for, oh, it's summertime, I have to do my summertime things, and it would be I mean, the thing is, you really need to discuss ideas, and you have to discuss them with people who object to them. Otherwise, you'll never kind of get anywhere, because then people don't know what your solution is.
So to that extent, people do that, Claire. They do go on. Here I'm now playing devil's advocate. They do go on Millennial with the intention of putting essentially the best 1.5 hour of their material forward. And so when you go Millennial Woes will in advance ask you, what do you want to talk about? And we'll probably ask you, what questions would you like me to ask you about it? And is there anything that you don't want me to ask you? And please don't talk about this thing here. And it's absolutely not mention anyone else in the movement unless it's to say that you love them and how great they are, okay? But
well, we don't need the nannying of nationalists, do
No.
we?
no, we don't at all. No, we don't at all. This is my only complaint. This is my only complaint. Now, what else did I want to say? It has been made a little more, I suppose, prescient as this problem due to Thomas's content since he's returned.
Well, he's got a few strikes because he's been going on about AA. I mean, I thought he was pushing it a bit. Yes, it was funny. I particularly enjoyed the elephant girl jokes, but I
Oh
imagine...
God, let's not go there. I'm not.
No, but yes, he was pushing the envelope, wasn't he?
He was. Excuse me. He was absolutely. Look, after my stream, well, I love Thomas to bits. Okay, I think Thomas is great. I'm effectively responsible for bringing him back onto the internet. I have no doubt that Academic Agent actually blames me for all of Thomas's ranting. He won't know, and he would not believe, even if like Thomas swore 100% it was nothing to do with me. he will absolutely won't believe that I've put Thomas up to it. He probably believes that rumor that Thomas is like my older brother and we share a house or something that goes around on the internet. So he probably thinks I've put him up to it. But when he did come back, he made a series of the most brutal, insulting videos about Academic Agent possible. Holy shit.
And they're still available on Odyssey, aren't they?
Yes.
Good.
Holy shit, though, with some of them. But look, they were... You have to view these as, like... You know, in America, every year, the press club has this roast, where they do roasts.
I don't know what you mean.
A comedy thing is where somebody roasts somebody, and they will say the most horrible things about them, don't they? Is it known as the presidential roast or something like that, or the press club roast? Presidential roast. Yeah, let's watch. Should we just watch a little bit of it, of something just to explain what the heck?
To idea to the audience.
Yeah. So, Obama roasts Donald Trump. I've not even looked at this yet.
It is wonderful to be here at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. What a week. As some of you heard, the state of Hawaii released my official long-form birth certificate. Hopefully, this puts all doubts to rest. But just in case there are any lingering questions, tonight, I'm prepared to go a step further. Tonight, for the first time, I am releasing my official birth video.
What?
Now, I warn you, no one has seen this footage in 50 years. Not even me. But let's take a look.
I've not watched this before. I don't even understand. This isn't what we were looking for.
Can we see the end of it?
Well, it's basically where somebody gets somebody, they say horrible jokes about somebody.
When he was governor of Massachusetts.
Right, okay.
Someone should get to the bottom of that. And I know just the guy to do it. Donald Trump is here tonight. Now, I know that he's taken some flack lately, but no one is happier, no one is prouder to put this birth certificate matter to rest than the Donald. And that's because he can finally get back to focusing on the issues that matter. Like, did we fake the moon landing? What really happened in Roswell? And where are Biggie and Tupac?
Anyway, you get the. This wasn't this was a terrible example, but you get the idea. The idea of a roast is to publicly humiliate somebody. Mm-hmm. Okay. Publicly humiliate somebody. Mm-hmm. Yeah, people have seen that before, but so this happens. And look, that's what Thomas was doing about Academic Agent. Okay? He was roasting. Yes, he pushed it farther than I would go. Because he...
And it was funny.
Yeah. But I did a video shortly after my stream with him to say, look, people weren't happy that I didn't give Thomas enough pushback, and say to him, look... Thomas, you're bringing like you're name dropping like academic agents' kids in here and talking about that, and that's like below the belt and answer for yourself, dude. You know, and stuff like that.
But he
Because
didn't really
he
say
wa-
anything, that wasn't already public knowledge anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't. I mean,
No,
he just sort of
absolutely
had this
not.
sort of fantasy of,
But he
what it might
jokes.
look like,
Yes.
be
But
collected from school in some imaginary scenario. But.
well, I'm glad you said that because what you see the problem is lots of people he take these things far too seriously and they don't realize when somebody is using comedy. Even though Thomas began to say in his streams, look, everything I've just said is comedy and you shouldn't take it seriously. He started to actually do that now. He wasn't doing that all the way along. And
Yeah, I mean,
there is...
he was saying that there's somebody who's been spying on them, and I've got all the pictures of.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the problem is,
Which might
somebody
give
like that...
anyone a nasty turn, but then, it turns out to be a joke, ha ha ha.
Yes, exactly. Where was roasting? Where was I going with this? How did we get onto this topic?
I think we're talking about character and how, whether this sort of thing should be maybe done in a more humorous way. But, I mean, the thing is, Thomas wasn't doing anything illegal as far as I'm concerned. But these days you can, just complain to teacher and then teacher will...
I remember. I brought this up because I said that this probably threw an extra spanner into this like punch bowl of millennial woes this year because he was faced with Thomas returning to the internet and attacking viciously, ruthlessly mocking and humiliating academic agent, one of his like biggest guests right before the start of Milllenniule. And be under no mistake, the academic agent knew it was going on. Millennial Woes knew it was going on. Lots of academic agents, inner circle, have all seen it. I'm sure the ones who still, like, the scales haven't lifted from their eyes and they're still academic agent ball washers, found it absolutely abhorrent and disgusting, and they won't have seen the funny side of it. Basically, the crowd who take everything, and including themselves, 100% seriously. They will have not noticed the jokes within it. They will have not thought it was funny. They will have thought it was detestable. DMs will have been shared. The memos will have gone out. This cannot be tolerated. This is unacceptable. And all this will all have been going on behind the scenes. Absolutely. And I think we could see that because in Millennial Woes' first AMA prologue stream, he gets asked if Thomas Barn Rees will be coming on the show this year. Mm-hmm. Did you watch that? Did you see that?
No, I didn't see that one. I only heard Thomas saying he wouldn't be going on because he couldn't bear not to criticise his other guests. But I think he said it on your stream, didn't he?
He did. I think deep down he would have liked an invite, obviously.
Yeah, but God, millennials can be so pompous. I mean, come on.
There's no way he'd have him
on
on.
Telegram live stream, and he's talking about his reminiscences. It's like, bloody hell, you haven't done anything other than sit in your room and talk. You haven't been to war. You're not a veteran. You're not an army veteran with your reminiscences. But Benny's quite funny saying, Millennial Woes, Terry Wogan off the right. I thought that was funny anyway.
Well, for one thing, there's no way he would have Thomas on now. And his response basically to the question was, not since, he didn't name him, he didn't even read out the question, he did it like this. I don't have the clip pulled up, but he did it something like this. Flat Earth 1488 in the chat is asking me if a certain somebody will be appearing on Millleniyule this year. Well, I'm afraid the answer's no, and for the main reason that I absolutely wouldn't want to be associated with anything that person's been saying. I find it absolutely abhorrent, or something like that.
Ooh,
That's how he did it.
strong.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
never mind. The loss of Millennial Rose is my gain. I
Of
thought
course,
last
yeah.
year with TBR
Of course,
went quite well.
you did. Yeah. By the way, audience, what listening to us, if you're not aware, Claire Core did manage to get Thomas on her show. So they had a conversation over on Odyssey. You can find it on her Odyssey channel.
With a whole bunch of Karani Yules.
Yes, it was interesting
Probably need a
too.
higher viewer count. But I think I've got 3 Jews on? And I'll have 1 Muslim coming up, and hopefully I will have Alex Linder, if you've
Really?
heard of him.
Wait, the exterminationist?
Is that what he's called? Is that what he's called?
No, that he literally is like he like advocates mass genocide or something, doesn't he? God forbid.
Well, his Wikipedia entry was quite bland, so I thought yes, somebody on Odyssey called Paper Scissors Stone recommended him, gave me the email and his website, and
Wow.
anyway, so I sent him an email. Well, he might just ignore me, but I did
Yeah, I
ask
think Alex Linder is literally an exterminationist, Claire. So just beware.
Okay. Well, I'd still have him on. I mean, obviously it'll have to be an Odyssey now.
I might be mistaken. I might be
I know
mistaken.
he got into some trouble. And there's a a clip of him
Yeah.
answering questions and him refusing to condemn some act of terrorism or something.
Holy
Yes,
shit.
yeah.
Oh my
But
God.
yes. And it was this
Well.
person complaining about Milleniule, saying, "Oh, it's so boring now," and then he said, "Oh, but you'd have him on, wouldn't you? But Millennial Rose just wouldn't. But you would, wouldn't you?" And I said, "Yeah, I would." So I don't know, like the fool I am.
Holy shit. Yeah. Okay, well, be careful with that one. But you know what you're doing, I suppose.
Yeah, I
let's
mean,
just
when you think about it, Vincent has said pretty terrible things. Vincent.
Well, he gets away with it because he's a
he's
raving
gay.
homosexual. Yeah.
Yeah, and also I would say, I feel I am his extra therapist, and I think people are kind of, into that idea, even though he says, he's plotting to abolish women, and there will only be men, and they'll all be gay, and then they'll be fighting each other to use the artificial wombs, but the people will be better.
Yeah, look, I've put the link now in the chat. It's if anybody wants to join us, they could join us. What was I going to say? Look, let me just pin it. There it is pinned. If anybody wants to come on and join us and have a chat, you can. I think we've kind of gone over much of what we were going to talk about. Anti-SJJ is getting a new mic, so that's good. He was a good addition to my stream the other week. Lots of positive comments on that. Let me just say, I appreciate the Milllenniule content in spite of the criticism I'm giving. I think we need to have a conversation in this community about the value of speaking honestly about each other, and if it's acceptable to do it. Okay, I think this is a genuine thing. Or should the Karening continue? Because to me, this feels like a clash of ideas about how these things should manifest. Should they be organic? Should you just speak your mind, or should you fucking hold your tongue and only speak nicely about people and never say really what's on your mind? I know the people like in Academic Agent Circle, the people on Milllenniule, all that kind of thing, they'll say, well, this idiot's just like an absolute nobody on the internet. It doesn't matter anyway what the fuck he's saying, and obviously he's wrong. But I do think this is an actual, certainly with like Thomas coming back and doing this kind of direct roasting of individuals, and I imagine it won't stop at Academic Agent. Somebody else will draw his eye and he'll decide to start roasting that individual next, etc. I think we need to have a legitimate conversation about whether this is actually, okay to do. It's okay to do it.
Of course it's okay to do. It's a fight for supremacy if you want it,
But why do so many
want
people
a
think it
leader-
isn't? Why do so many people think you're doing the wrong thing? You're bad news. You're wrong. You're doing everybody a disservice. You're a cunt for doing it.
Well, because there are people who just like to criticise you for the sake of criticising you, because they think by criticising you they raise their status, by criticising you. So most of it is not even justified. And obviously you're safe to be criticised if nobody knows you, and, everybody hates you and whatever. But sometimes it's through being criticised that you get known. And also, how are you going to get to the top if you don't have your ideas challenged?
Yeah, well, there's definitely something to that. Becoming a hug box, you really are not tested in the fire. Your ideas aren't tested. You develop a very thin skin. Like academic. Again, I keep going on about Academic Agent like I'm not doing it on purpose, but
Well, he's the
all
worst,
roads
though,
lead to
isn't
Academic
he? I mean,
Agent.
He's
Yes.
suing people, threatening people.
Yes. He acts like a king and kingmaker, whilst also not having an ounce of noblesse oblige, so that he denies that he's king and kingmaker, whilst acting like both of them at the same time. At once and the same time, he does it, acts like the mafia boss, whilst denying that he's even in the movement. Okay. So, this has been one of my biggest complaints all the way through this.
He should be defied, and actually, it's very
And
expensive
having
to
the
sue
thinnest skin in the movement, unwilling to face like the people who have complaints against him, basically. and that's the case because he's also, look, I don't think he's an idiot. Certainly, like several standard deviations of IQ above me. I'm not afraid to say that. Okay, but I don't think he's an idiot. People call him stupid. I don't think that at all. I think he's been a very smooth operator. He's certainly had lots of success. People who get successful get themselves to that. They're ruthless, they're cunning, they know what they're doing, and they obviously have the level of intelligence to achieve it, to get to that position of being that king, so to speak. And he's done that of this like post alt-right, dissident right sphere of NRX adjacent choir boys, queers and bores. Pardon my French. I probably shouldn't have gone so far there, but yeah. That's how I feel.
Well, I mean, does anybody know what his idea is? I mean, there isn't anything. I mean, is there? Do you know? Does anyone?
His idea is about enriching himself, obviously, and then, but in doing so, he has genuine. I don't doubt he's genuinely antithetical to the British system. I don't doubt that he has genuine dissident complaints about the government, okay, about the world. I think he probably genuinely wants less immigration. I think he genuinely wants less of the woke stuff. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I don't think he's necessarily like 100% a bad actor. I think most people act in good faith and think that they're doing the honest thing, but some people have more proclivities towards like funding their second house in London than they do towards like going and achieving maybe the best thing politically. Basically, this thing stopped being any real attempt to affect politics and became more about producing your own brand of internet entertainment for many people a long time ago. And I don't even know if we can blame people for that.
Oh, I've just received notification that Colin Liddell liked one of my comments on his latest post in Substack about millennial woes. You know the one I mean, don't you? Would you
No,
care to
I don't.
comment?
Which one?
No? It goes, academic agent bails out of increasingly something, what was it? What does it say? Increasingly moronic millennials. He just posted it today. And the byline is, yes, it's time to deck the halls with boughs of black pill degenerate Nazi losers.
Okay, yeah. Look, somebody said to me today, what? Oh, it was a Apollonian Germ said to me today. Maybe I've already said it. I don't know if you want me to say it publicly. I've already done it. Apollonian Germ said today, what is Colin's problem with millennial woes? He seems to be what did he say? He seems to be acting. What was his words? You were there.
I can't remember, I'm afraid. I'll post a link to his Substack in the private chat, so you can decide whether you want to read it or whatever.
I don't know if I'm going to read it out.
Because you know it'll be nasty.
I think he seems like a bitter nerd. Apollonian Germ said about Colin Liddell. Why is he attacking woes?
Well, he attacks everybody. He seems to
He
like
does.
it, though.
He does. Yeah, I don't know why. My answer was that Colin fell out with the movement, with the community of people who, look, he was one of the original spokes of this third pronged dissonant original alternative right, with Spencer, Andy Nowicki, and him doing that.
Oh, Andy
thing.
Nowicki is going to be on Milleniule.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so will Elliot Blatt on Sunday.
Well, that's always a win. I like
And
Elliot.
hopefully Alex Linder.
So
They'll get
you're
you
going
all
to have
excited.
Andy Nowicki, Adolf Blatt, and the exterminationist Alex Linder. That'd be it.
Plus a few Jews.
Plus
Yeah.
a few Jews. Well, maybe you should get them on with Alex Linder at the same time. I'm sure that would go down a treat. Look, Andy Nowicki was one of the original three spokes of the alternativeright.com site with Richard Spencer, and they ran it together. Colin Liddell, Andy Nowicki, Richard Spencer, back in the day, back in 2013 or 2014. Okay, so that's where it originates from, and that's where the term alt-right came from the phrasing alternativeright.com, which was a website.
Yeah,
Since then, Colin and Andy have fallen out over Andy's conspiratorial posting and like focus on Pizzagate and like chemtrails and shit like that. So.
Yeah, can I quickly read this thing about Alex Linder, his criminal record?
If you want, yeah, go ahead.
Well, because it doesn't sound so bad, according to the Wikipedia entry. So it says, on May 26, 2007, Linder organised what has been described as a racially charged protest linked to the Channon Christian and Christopher Newsom murder case in Knoxville, Tennessee, that attracted 30 supporters, around 60 counter-protesters and 300 law enforcement officers. Linder fought with police and was the only person arrested. He was charged with disorderly conduct, resisting arrest, vandalism, and assault on a police officer. He was placed on a 6-month probation and ordered to pay restitution to the police whom he assaulted. It doesn't sound too bad to me.
Yeah, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think he says, God forbid that like a certain person from a certain historical event in mid-20th century Germany didn't go far enough, Claire. That kind of rhetoric.
Yeah.
Okay, so just that's all I'm saying. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm mistaken.
Well, I mean, it's possible for people to express, such opinions. If they have. It says. This is a report from the Anti-Defamation League. So that would be, pretty damning. The ATL reported that Linder announced in January 2005 his intention to establish the White Freedom Party, stating it was America's first political party advocating Aryan interests and specifically naming the Jew as the agent of white genocide and greatest obstacle to our people's self-preservation as a distinct and protected people.
I'd just like to, for the YouTube algorithm, just point out Claire was quoting an article here, and those are not the opinions of the channel, and no offence is intended to any of our Jewish readers. Thank you very much.
Yes, we are only reading from a Wikipedia entry about Alex Linder. It threatened to wage non-stop war on the Jews. So you're quite right. coloured and mainstream sellouts, but it threatened being the operative word.
Yes.
So it's not carrying it out. Lacking financial backing,
So-
the White Freedom Party is currently dormant. So I guess it's not.
Yeah. So I'd be very careful if I being associated. Well, look, you're a big girl, Claire. I'm sure you can deal with it.
Well,
But
obviously,
we'll
I
just
will be
disavow those views
questioning
here.
the premise and the efficacy of such action, and it may be that he might have recanted some of it. Well, anyway, I'll probably not hear from him anyway. But this is what
Yeah.
I'll do for you guys.
What? Have some idiot neo-Nazi on your show?
Well, yes.
Thanks for that. Thanks
Because
for
I
that.
know you
Thanks
find
for
it so
thanks for that association that I'll get for hanging
cathartic.
around with you for that.
No, I know you
Appreciate
love
that,
it.
Claire.
Yes.
Look, let's look at the article that Claire caused telling me we need to look at from Colin Liddell. This is going to be absolutely awful. This will mean I'll never get invited on Millleniyule ever again. Colin Liddell's Substack. Academic agent bails out of increasingly moronic millennials. Yes, it's time to deck the halls with boughs of black-pilled degenerate Nazi losers. It looks like academic agent, the half-Persian, dissident right intellectual, has bailed out on this year's Millleniyule, the end-of-year online get-together of largely anonymous dissident writers, curated by a gay, pudgy, failed art student and welfare leech. Millennial woes. While AA has openly and consistently flirted with conspiracy theories and anti-Semitic tropes himself, he's decided that he couldn't use his relatively large dissident right presence to endorse the batshit crazy, sub-red ice crap that now passes for Millenniyule. According to those who can be bothered to follow any of his trivial, circle-jerking, fart-sniffing shit, the bone of contention is a little beef that AA had with effeminate Nazi and Millenniyule guest Keith Woods. Neocrat understands that if it wasn't for this, AA would have appeared along with all the other pond life on Millenniyule. Holy shit. And this here is a link to Thomas Barn Rees's video. Okay. Another factor in A's decision may be the long-running feud between Greg Johnson and confirmed Fed and Cook boy Richard Spencer, as Woes is essentially controlled by gay Nazi Greg Johnson, while AA has been friendly with Spencer of late. But for anyone wanting to get some insight into how low the so-called dissident right has been falling in recent years, watching Millenniyule is essential viewing. A short amateur hour cyber animation made by Woes to promote its final cash cow, Please Donate, perfectly encapsulates the mindset of this pathetic group of losers. Holy shit. Oh, that's done it for my invitations now, hasn't it?
Well, we're just talking about these things. They need to be dealt with, the infighting, the petty feuds. So can you say again, why does Colin hate Colin?
So,
I think you just said it, but I forgot. I've just instantly forgotten. I'm sorry.
So the alt-right became something wholly different to how it started. It started as a big tent of dissident ideas and essentially ended up narrowcasted into Nazi LARPing at some point around like 2017. Was Charlottesville 2017? That's kind of the culmination of it all. Mm-hmm. And Colin was, and other characters became very disillusioned and disgruntled with this and the people who went along with it. And so It all stems from that, really, from this thing being taken by the horns by other characters, and essentially like charged off the top of the nearest cliff, and then everybody's piled up at the bottom and expecting to be uncritically taken has like I'm not explaining this well.
Well, okay, perhaps you don't
Go
know.
on.
I mean, obviously, some people, think, people should be able to say, to criticize each other, and some people think
Yeah.
it's gone too far.
Look, there's a lot of criticisms are justified of people around here. So this behaving like everybody is beyond criticism. It's just a joke in itself. It's an absolute farce. This is the problem. And somebody like Colin Liddell feels the absolute need, beyond anything else, to point this out and to say the Emperor has no clothes and all these people are fucking guilty of like serious personal character flaws and have made XYZ mistakes and deserve ridicule.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so they dish it out. So with Millennial Woes, the basis of criticism forms the part of his appearance, his 20 years on the dole, his basement dwelling, his homosexuality, his degeneracy, and then being a face for the movement. And all these are contradictions that end up being spilled out by somebody like Colin Liddell, who roasts people within a scene, within a movement that he has become disaffected of and now resents.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I don't know if that explains it well.
Yes, I think so, because Colin Liddell thinks of himself as a veteran who kind of, was sort of more hardcore, and that now he doesn't like it being taken over by people who can't say boo to a goose.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yes. Well, that makes sense. Anyway, he liked my comment, did Liddell.
Maybe Claire, this is his sign of saying he wants to come on Millenniule, on Coranior.
Oh yes,
It might be a sign. Yes, I think that's what Colin is actually doing. He's too shy to ask you directly, so that's what he was doing. Definitely.
Okay.
Reach out a hand.
Yes. I don't have his. Do I have his email?
He's on Twitter.
Yes, I'll ask him publicly. All right, that's nice. Thank you for giving me the idea.
Yeah.
I
If
mean,
Andy
the people
Nowicki's going on.
Yes. Then I think he'd like to be on too. Cool.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Right. I'll do that.
Should we take another little look at Millennial Woes? I'm not going to be the guy that's just going to say, look at him sat here in his filth with his long hair after being in his basement for 8 months with his toilet roll on the shelf here. I'm not going to be that guy. Okay, to do that, but others might.
Roll.
On Twitter, and this time last year I was banned from Twitter and had been for about 4 years. 4 years. So it is indeed, things do change, and it's very strange. So anyway, I've been booted from Telegram too many times, and it's impossible to sign up without doxing yourself. I think that's not true anymore. It definitely used to be true, but now I think you can create an account without a phone. I believe.
It's funny. Again, I'm not going to be the person to point out, but other people noticed that he's using a pair of sunglasses as a headband. His hair's that long.
Yep, and he hasn't got a headband.
No.
Yeah.
I heard Odyssey is somehow under threat. Yes, but
Let's just skip forward.
I mean, the thing is, the thing about certain historical events, if you know what I mean. Oh, because that wouldn't avoid Google banning me. I mean, it would be detected very awful.
Just talking about technical stuff here.
A big thing. I mean, you should want to spend time on a website, and they should want you to want to spend time on it. It's weird. Rumble is boomer tech, but a solid platform. I'll take your word.
Yeah, I think he made mistakes about not doing Rumble first, to be honest. I don't think he's getting great view. Is he getting great views on here? 4,000. I think he'd do a lot better on Rumble, if I'm honest. I don't know where he answered the question about Thomas, unfortunately.
So it's quite complicated. If you're trying to make a diagram of it all,
yeah. Anyway.
Oh, can we hear the one about Thomas?
I don't know where it was.
Okay.
I can't find it now.
More worried about the British hate speech laws than that. Whereas it used to be the other way around, where I thought it was true that the social media policies were more stringent than the British hate speech laws. So, so much for the First Amendment in America. YouTube, Twitter were keeping you more policed, more silenced than the hate speech laws. But I think it can be very. I mean, it depends how. It's like everything in moderation. If it goes too far, then you're lost in the past. You're stuck in the past. You're not able to embrace the present. That's. I mean, that cannot be healthy. That cannot be right. We can't be meant to be that attached to things that are no longer with us.
That's an interesting thing he just said there that I just happened upon. Because that is the running theme of Millleniyule, isn't it, Claire? That he is attached to a certain past, when he was growing up, basically, the 1980s and 90s, and that things aren't like that anymore.
Sentimental, but then, perhaps...
Well, no, I think he has a point.
Well, yes, because things are changing so quickly that even relatively young men like him are getting sentimental about the past, which wasn't that far away, and I think this is a fundamental problem, that things are changing so quickly that even young people are getting disorientated. That was my point. I wasn't, criticizing him for saying that.
Well, the thing about it is, it's nothing new, is it? I think he seems to feel like it is something new and unique to like the millennial condition or to like the modern age today, when really it's just the age-old sign of getting old, isn't it? Old.
Well, I mean, have you heard the expression "stop the world, I want to get off"? It's quite an old expression. I think it was last century, in fact. So, and an even older one is of the Roman crying, "O tempora, O mores." So, I guess, and before that there were all these Greek philosophers saying, "Ooh, there's so much change. We wonder if the river, the water of the river that's flowing past, is it the same water as the water that our ancestors saw, or something like that." But I guess we all hark back to a golden age that we seem to remember our ancestors talking about, and maybe it never existed. Maybe even in that golden age, they people were whinging about their idea of a golden age. But I think the point is not I mean, we can't always be looking back. We have to think of the future, and you know, I fear that. Well, the government is not thinking of the future. It certainly is not thinking of the future. And that, I think, is a problem. And we know they're not thinking about the future, which is why we distrust and detest them. You know, it's sort of a given that they don't give a damn about the future or us or, you know, whatever race, you know, just their, you know, importing of people into the country without even thinking twice about it is a sign that they don't care. And don't want to hear us complain.
Well, I think they have different concerns. Absolutely. Do they have any intrinsic care for like the native demographics of the UK? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Do they have different ideas about what matters, and are they trying to forward those things? Yes. I tend to think that these people, look, I think we suffer from a mixture of fatal flaws in the current day, and part of it is that we have like we do have just managerial people running the show. People are like politicians for life, and these people run the show like running a company, and therefore it's all like that the line must go up, and so it's all about just ensuring economic growth at any cost, and so that comes down to just the easiest way to do that is to bring in more and more and more and more and more immigrants. You know, that's the shortest run to it. And then I think we are also in this modern period now suffering from having literal foreigners in these offices of government who have their own ethnic interests, whether they're actively pursuing them or not, such as like the likes of Hamza Yusuf in Scotland there, who goes and says, I'm a Pakistani from the soil, the blood of Pakistan, and therefore I'm gonna bring in more Pakistanis. I think he literally said something like almost to that extent. They want that he's from the soil of Pakistan, and so he's going to bring in more. He's going to strengthen ties and bring in more Pakistani students into Scotland, whether it's like that or just unacknowledged biases.
Yeah, I mean, there was a video of it was an American channel, and they were complaining about why is the US government bringing in all these men of fighting age, and I think that they were complaining in particular about these Chinese men who obviously had kind of special, you know, that's all specially arranged. They had better facilities during transit, and saying why are they bringing them in? Why are they bringing them in? And it was this idea of giving them instant citizenship if they join the army, because the neocons still have, you know, wars they want to fight, and they know the white indigenous don't want to sign up for any kind of, you know, fighting, and that is what they're doing. They're offering instant citizenship to non-American men who were prepared to join the US Army. That's what they're doing.
Well, I don't know anything about that.
I'll find you a link.
I know over here the immigrants are all like working in the warehousing and things like that. If you go to any industrial estate here in the UK, around like, if you happen to go on a morning around like between 7 and 8 o'clock, if you know any industrial estates in your area, any large ones, you will just see such diversity that you would never believe. So, I mean, look, not all of these immigrants are on the dole, okay? We've got to admit it at some point, you know. Not all of these immigrants are just here on the dole. Many of them are working, but fuck me.
In the essential services. Such as slaughterhouses. Like slaughterhouses need to be manned, right? We want to
Hey.
eat meat at a McDonald's.
I think you might be wrong
shops.
about that, actually. I think you might be wrong about slaughterhouses specifically. Phil, you know Phil from these circles, the communist guy, basically. Do you know Phil from the British guy?
I'm not sure who
He works in a
exactly.
slaughterhouse. He works in a
Right.
slaughterhouse, and so he says it's almost exclusively white because basically they're slaughtering pigs. So there's a few like
but, I mean, they would be
Romanians
from
and Polish,
the continent,
but
right?
no, literally zero
Yes.
Muslims. So you might
Because
be
the
wrong
Muslims who work in
specifically
Muslim
about
slaughterhouses.
slaughterhouses.
If they
But
were
like
working.
everything else, like Amazon warehousing, and which basically is the vast bulk of like commercial good warehousing and stuff like that, all that kind of stuff, those are just absolutely teeming with immigrants. Teeming with them.
So they are being imported in for a particular purpose, you know.
Well, I was just saying I can understand therefore why,
Ultimate,
you know, the young men can be put to work like that in warehousing pretty easily.
yes.
But essentially, what I see it like this as well. Those are the ones who are essentially like the vanguard for, not for some like waiting army to come over or anything like that, but that essentially a family maybe smart enough to send like one young man over here to get a foothold, get status, get residency, and then they have the rights then to start bringing dependents over.
Chain migration.
So if you can, so if you can't all afford to come over, you send the one over who can effectively like survive best on his own, independent, capable of getting a job or whatever, to come here and put down
Makes
the
a bit of
roots,
money.
and then goes over, brings over Shaniqua with him or whatever. Once he's got the house, got on the system, got a job, anchor babies or whatever, yeah, and then she starts breeding them out. But yeah.
Yes.
I think, well, last call for
Another
anybody
thing
to
is,
come on
you
the
know, I mean,
stream
it's just
if
sad,
anybody
it's
wants to.
like the-
Go on, Clay, go on.
Yeah, I'm going to. No, I'm just going to post that video that I found that about the men of fighting age who are obviously not Americans being housed in hotels, just like they are here.
Yeah.
Because there has been an order for them. They have been ordered. Somebody ordered them. That's why they're being put in hotels. You know.
Well, I don't know about that.
They're being put in hotels
I mean, look,
in America too.
There is the reason they go in these hotels, Claire. Look, they land on the beach, okay? They land on the beach or they come over a border. Here in the UK, where we are an island, so they hop on a boat in France, and it's like a 2-mile crossing. And when they get here, effectively, then we have to do something with them. They've thrown their documentation into the water on the way over, or they've got rid of it beforehand, and they arrive here without any documents. They claim that they are from a particular country, and they will already have a story ready which gives them cause to be potentially granted political asylum, that there's some danger or some risk to their life and limb if they were to be sent back to this other country. So then they are then afforded human rights. Okay, we have a human being here who is claiming to be in fear of his life and political persecution and is asking for our help. We have these obligations. We're not like some backward country. We have these systems in place for scenarios like this. These people are exploiting that system. We then have something with which to do with them. They've turned up to our system. Our system then has to put them somewhere. So what the current problem is that there's this backlog of these people because so many of them have been coming that they then have to be put in accommodation by the government, and that accommodation is currently renting out hotel rooms across the country until their asylum claim can be determined by the process of dealing with these asylum claims, whether it's a judge or whatever. And this process has a backlog of something like 6 months, a year, or whatever. Maybe it might even be years by now. And in the meantime, most of these people just disappear into the country after, they'll spend like 6 or 8 months in the government hotel for free, getting government welfare every week.
Just be enslaved.
And and then when it comes close to their like asylum case being heard in the court, they probably just won't even turn up for it and they'll disappear.
I did suggest enslaving asylum seekers.
Yes. What do you say, Claire, to somebody just... I had it on the screen a moment ago. Benny was... I think he was referring to you. He can tell me if I'm mistaken, but I think he's referring to you, saying, SJJ, you are in communication with an enemy. Answer for yourself, Claire.
I thought Benny said something.
Oh, it might not be you. Maybe I'm...
I'm not sure. I thought I read a kind of friendly comment, but maybe I'm just...
Probably not. I think Benny is like... Benny's probably like of the Biarki mindset that, you know, you're basically enemy of the white nationalist.
No, but the thing is actually, I've been trying to explain to people, like, you know, if white nationalists, if they knew what was good for them, would support restoring the patriarchy and forbidding and punishing extramarital sex. And this actually would be something that the immigrant would be happy to agree with. Because I think the fear of the immigrant is sort of, oh, we crossed oceans and continents to get to this place, and we were just absorbed into the local DNA there. So I think immigrants have their uses. I mean, they will agree with you about, you know, restoring these sort of traditional practices such as marriage, which your matriarchy no longer supports, which is now almost illegal to mention. So, and I'm not kidding. I mean, a lot of these immigrants are traditional, and they want to find a wife, they want to have children, they want to go forth and multiply, and you'll find them, you know, quite supportive about these things if you ever ask them.
Well, I don't think that was a good explanation.
The enemy is feminists. That's a real enemy.
Okay, I'm not sure that was really a great defense of yourself, really, being called the enemy. You'd have probably got the firing squad for that if that was your trial and that was your closing argument.
Well, I'm just telling you what I believe to be the truth.
Look, to people who question why I speak to Claire, Claire was there from the...
of course.
Well, look, we've got 50 viewers live, Claire, and we've kept 50 viewers live for 2 hours straight. Aren't you proud of yourself?
Very.
That's not bad
That's
going
quite
for
good. I didn't know it was quite so high. It must be the holiday season and the title.
Yeah, well, yeah, maybe. Or maybe just our willingness to talk about these things. Because there's this stifling atmosphere. Everybody knows it. Everybody can see it. And even those who are willing to turn a blind eye and just enjoy the entertainment. Know it deep down. They know it. That something is rotten in the state of Denmark. No, I didn't mean it like that. It's not rotten. That's being too harsh.
Well, I'm so glad you mentioned Hamlet. Did you actually read it at school?
Yes.
Well, I did.
Yes.
Well, anyway, I remember it quite well.
Yes, I did.
And it was basically a complaint about the morals of, well, Hamlet's mum, right?
Oh, don't ask me to remember much about it.
Well, basically, Hamlet's papa was assassinated by Hamlet's mum and Hamlet's uncle, who were having an adulterous affair. And Hamlet was very upset about it, but then he thought, oh, but I don't really care. I wish I didn't know. It's such a pain. I don't know what to do, and I don't really want to do anything. And then he was the one who said, there's nothing good or evil. Only thinking makes it so. And he's thinking and thinking, and he gets depressed, and then when he finally decides to do something about it, he kills all the wrong people. The end. And then he gets himself killed. Oh, truth over lies. That's nice of you to say about me.
Well, that one there.
Yes, the one that you just highlighted.
Yeah.
But yeah, if we make more,
hey,
references
what about
to Shakespeare.
What about, even more direct here, look, this isn't the Clay Core show, but what about what David Yorkshire, he is another, I'm aware of David Yorkshire, he doesn't know me, I don't think, but I'm aware of him having a part in the movement, so to say. He runs a magazine called, I can never say the word, but Millleniyule magazine. He says, hate Clay-Core, hate your own women, not those who are raping them. Answer for yourself, Clay-Core.
Well, I'm saying your women are going to hate you the more you behave like them, and it is a very feminine characteristic to whinge and moan and not do anything. And when your women notice that all you do is whinge and moan and never do anything, they'll hate you even more, particularly if you won't marry them. And I think subconsciously they're saying, we're just going to vote for these pro-immigration parties because our men won't marry us, and we at least we get these exotic, interesting, manly foreign men who have crossed oceans and continents to come here, who'll marry us for our passports, if nothing else. That's what they're thinking, probably. And you're just saying, oh, we can't be bothered, we'd rather die. And then it's like, right, we'll just destroy your civilization then, if you're going to be like that. I can't prove it, of course, but I'm just saying that as a woman, I can sort of see how they might think like that.
Well, anyway, that would be a subconscious thinking. I don't think women are are thinking this at the forefront of their minds. David Yorkshire basically has a good point there, therefore, basically, about you. That you're blaming the wrong demographic.
Well, it's just easier to blame Jews because you don't want to have sex with them. It's easy to blame Muslims because you don't want to have sex with them. But if you offend women, you're going to be, you will be cancelled as regards to sexual prospect. I'm sorry to think like a man.
Come on
but
now.
I think,
Sorry.
No. Did you see the Spacepan interview that I did?
No, I didn't.
Spacepan was on Karate, and he so Spacepan is this gay guy, and he works for his political activism is in men's rights.
Wow. Amazing.
No. It is interesting because he and Vincent do not get on. For some reason, Vincent kind of thinks, those poor women, with those awful men, and so basically Vincent and Spacepan, who are both gay, disagree with each other about women. So Spacepan is saying they're terrible, and Vincent is saying they need to be protected, and
What?
so I asked Spacepan why he's doing that, and he said, "Well, I'm doing a favour for these white heterosexual men who are too afraid to complain." Which is
Fascinating.
disgraceful. It's like, do your own
Fascinating.
complaining, straight white men. Don't push some gay man to do your to do your complaining for you because you think, oh, well if he says mean things about feminists, and the feminists don't want to have sex with him, it's okay for him because he's gay. But if we say mean things about feminists and feminists don't want to have sex with us, well, it'll hurt us because we'll be depriving ourselves of pussy.
The problem with all this is that it comes down to criticizing a vulnerable demographic, which is white women, basically. So, on some fundamental level, that's not going to be the answer. Even if
I think
they
you people
deserve
are more
criticism.
vulnerable.
Look, we're in a very. You know my answer to this. We're in a very disruptive time of female hypergamy. It's basically due to the very disruptive influence of the internet. This is an extremely unusual period of history. We've never been in this situation before in the last 20 years, basically, of apps and immediate, immersive interconnectedness. It's extremely disruptive, and we don't know exactly how it's going to end. This is what am I trying to say here? Yeah, look, there's different sides of this argument. Are blame women?
Coronism will sort it out.
Oh, holy shit, Claire, fuck off. Look, there's different aisles. Some people, you have incels who are just very angry at women. You have people who are very angry at the people who they see are orchestrating this hyper-modernist society and like are running the banks and running the NGOs and things like that. And they name them as X, Y, and Z. Oh wow, we have a guest. And things like that. And they
Hello.
Welcome, David Yorkshire, to the show. We have a bit of an echo, but carry on.
Is it echoing back?
Yes, we have a little echo.
That's probably because I've got the show on as well. So I better stop that.
If you could stop the show playing, that would get rid of the echo, hopefully.
Yep, I think we're okay now. Are we okay?
Excellent.
Right.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah. Well, I suppose I felt obliged to sort of hop in with that barking mad maniac there, who has really been on the fringes of the movement, lurking around. She occasionally used to appear at the London Forum, where we were told to mind our P's and Q's because we had someone of an alternative ethnicity in our midst.
I wasn't the only one. There was some Japanese bird.
Right, yes. Well, it did get terribly diverse towards the end, and I had a word with Jez Turner about it, I remember. I obviously was dead against it. Yes, because, I mean, Claire Core, you're not genuine, let's be honest. You don't really want what's best for us. And you've sort of, as I say, wandered around the fringes from being photographed in Nazi uniform with David Cooper. It was Dave.
David Jones.
That's it, David Jones. Now,
Do you know
time for
what's happened
David
to him?
Jones.
Is he okay?
I don't know. I've not seen him for a long, long time, actually, but I hope he's well, because he's a bit misguided, but he's okay. You, however, are not. Let's be honest. You don't have our best interests at heart. Certainly with this nonsense about secular Quranism, which is a contradiction in terms for a start. Ah, yes, there are the photos. Lovely. Dear, oh dear. I mean, how larpy do you want it?
Well, it's a way of dropping my calling card at your place.
But a calling card for what exactly?
For
If you have a calling
to
card,
show
you
my commitment to nationalism.
to what, larpy Nazism?
No, I want to redefine nationalism. I want to define nationalism as
Ah, well,
government in the national interest.
yes, there we go. I want to redefine nationalism. Well, isn't that what the left want to do? They want to redefine everything, don't they?
Well, as a political philosopher, I think redefining words in a way that will enhance the
No, it's
reputation
just
of
plain.
nationalists
Not at all.
would
It's
be
just plain
useful.
semantics. Is what the left do.
Well, I think you have to play with semantics. You have to, fight
Why?
over the meaning of words.
Why? That's the very basis of deconstruction theory.
No.
Of course
Ideas
it is.
represent words.
No,
And,
words have meaning so that we can actually communicate with each other. Otherwise, you have complete incoherence.
well, I don't think I'm incoherent. You just don't like my idea. But you haven't got a better
Your
one.
your ideas are incoherent.
How?
I mean, secular Quranism, that's an oxymoron because the Quran is not secular.
It's just Sharia for non-Muslims as I interpreted. Okay,
You-
what do you want to do then, David?
Can I ask why you actually came to Europe in the first place?
I came as a student, and then I stayed.
And why didn't you go back?
I liked it, and I guess I was interested in the politics and the history and the culture and all that.
Yes, but are you not interested in your own people?
Not so much for some reason. I mean, I could have, thought I could have gone to America, I suppose, but for some reason I was drawn to Britain. I don't regret
So
my choice.
you have no interest in your own people. Isn't that a fault?
Well, I mean,
You see, I see that as a fault.
well, I don't know. Some people just are interested in certain things and are not interested in this country because of its imperial history. Maybe I read too many English novels, saw too many English dramas. I don't know. I was drawn to this place. I wanted to know about the history and the culture and the politics and
You're a China woman, aren't you? That's
no,
your
I'm
origin.
from Malaysia, so I'm a product.
Oh, Malaysia. Okay,
I
Malaysia.
am a product of the British Empire.
Uh, not for that long, really.
What do you mean?
In fact, you're not old enough, really, to be a product of the British Empire.
Well, Malaysia was part of the British Empire.
It was, but not during your lifetime.
Well, it was during my parents' lifetime and my grandparents' lifetime.
Yes, but it didn't seek to redefine the culture there, did it?
Oh, of course it does. I mean, the British have always been messing around with other people's racial composition. That I suppose, in a way, it's no surprise that they would mess around with their own.
That's not really true at all. That's not true at all. We tried to keep miscegenation to bare minimum. That's a fact.
Well, and then you gave up. You gave up trying to do that, I suppose. I mean,
Well,
imperialism is a cultural
we stopped.
exchange.
One of the great misunderstandings about the British Empire is that there is this idea now that it basically pillaged the world, whereas in fact the reason we had to give it up was that it was too expensive to run.
Yes, I guess the Americans are also finding it a bit too expensive to run.
Yeah, that's right. It is. It's a very expensive endeavor, is an empire. I'm personally against all empires because I think that all empires are doomed to fail, and that's
Yes,
been
after
proven throughout history.
yes,
And I
and the
don't think that
things.
and I would agree with you that they don't do any good for indigenous cultures.
Well,
Uh, and I would see you and your confusion as part of that, actually.
I don't feel confused. Things happen. There are advantages to empires, but all empires are logically and necessarily multiracial and multicultural.
Exactly, and that's the problem, you see.
Well, we can't, what's the word, turn back time. And if we believe in God, then everything that happened was meant to happen.
Which God?
There's only one Abrahamic God.
Abraham is not my forefather.
Well, there was a reason why the Romans culturally appropriated the Jewish God, the God of Israel.
Yes, because it served a function.
It's
In other
because
words, to try to sort of hold together a disintegrating empire. And what started as a sort of hippie movement among Jews, I mean, there was a lot of politics involved in how it. I mean, if you want a sort of history of that, then I suggest reading Edward Gibbon. But
well, he blamed
I've
Christianity
done
for
a
the
few
failure of
videos
the
on it on my
Roman
channel.
Empire. But there's actually a better book by A.H.M. Jones, who wrote about the conversion of Constantine and explained why Constantine had to Christianize Rome. You can get a free version of
Well,
a free
I mean,
PDF
it's
online
quite
if you don't
obvious
want to buy the
why it was
book.
Christianized. It was Christianized because it was falling apart, and they needed a unifying culture.
And
And
so
of
they
course,
used
Christianity is a globalist culture, just like Islam is, and not Judaism. Actually, Judaism is an ethno culture. Although there are Jews, of course, that marry out, but they tend to be secularized. But basically, if you have an empire, you need a sort of, and you wish to expand your empire ad infinitum until it becomes basically the globe, then I suppose you need a globalist religion. And both Islam and Christianity serve that purpose. But I'm not for empire. I'm an ethno-nationalist. And that's why it's not just why I'm a pagan. Many of my reasons are logical and philosophical as well as. But certainly, my gods pertain to me and to my tribe and to my people and to my way of thinking.
who are your gods?
Well, who you would describe as the Germanic or Norse gods. They are mine, and instinctively I knew that they were mine because, quite simply, they resembled me in both character and appearance.
Wotan.
Yes, Wotan in the German, Woden in the Old English, Odin or Odin in the Scandinavian languages.
But there was a reason. I think you're romanticizing these
But of course,
gods became extinct.
but of course, they're not extinct.
Well, nobody worships these.
Of course, they do. There are temples consecrated all the time now. There are more and more. In fact, Iceland consecrated its latest one last year, I believe. So that it's coming back, which is good. And in Greece, they're re-embracing Hellenism, and I'm very happy to see that.
But the Greeks didn't themselves believe in these gods, which is why
Of course they did.
they crashed and burned. I mean, it's just so crazy that you're going back to extinct civilizations and trying to resurrect extinct gods.
They're not
There's no
extinct. No.
advantage in that. It is showing that you haven't
You
learned from
see,
the lessons of
you don't
history.
even understand the belief system. That's your problem, you see,
Well,
because you're an
idolatry
Asiatic.
is a weaker belief
You're
system
an
to ethical
no, you're an
monotheism.
Asiatic, so of course you fall into the Asiatic kind of way of thinking and the Asiatic belief systems. Whereas I'm a European, and
Well, there are many varieties of Asian beliefs. They don't just have one religion, you know.
yeah, they tend all to be quite nihilistic. I've noticed death cults, really,
Well, I would have
which
called
is the
imperialism a death cult.
uh, I think you have a point, a certain point there, yes. But there again, I'm against imperialism, so I don't see your point.
Well, we're
Not
part
with
of an
me, at least,
empire.
anyway.
We are part of the American empire. Europe is
Yes, but I'm
an
fighting
occupied
against that.
country.
I'm fighting against that, though.
Well, then you have
So
to.
again, you have no point with me personally.
No, I mean, I would love it if this country told America to go jump in the lake. I prefer it to be a British Prime Minister than a French president or a German chancellor. But unfortunately, all the national leaders of Europe are bought and paid for by the neocons, and they only follow orders from Washington. I mean, that's why they allow American warships to sail into European waters to start a war on on the doorstep of Europe. It's almost incredible what's been allowed to
Saying
happen.
America is it's a bit naive, isn't it? It's not America anymore. It's not nations anymore that are governing the world. It's these.
Well, America is a global empire.
No, not really. Corporations now are the real empires. BlackRock and Goldman Sachs and the Rothschild Bank. Don't forget that Emmanuel Macron in France, he started out as an employee of Rothschild and C. And all of a sudden, he got a party built around him. How did that happen, do you think?
Well, if you think
Same
of
in
the
same in
Western
Britain.
financial system
I'll just finish. The same in Britain. Now, when Liz Truss was elected, that was a surprise to me actually, because I thought that Rishi Sunak would get the vote. Of course, it was an internal election in the Conservative Party, not, of course, a general election. But I thought that Rishi Sunak would get in at that point, but he didn't. He had to wait until Truss's resignation. But the reason that I thought that was simply because he's an ex-employee of Goldman Sachs, and so ex in inverted commas, I should say, because these people are never really ex-employees, are they?
I don't think it even matters because they're all so useless anyway. They're all bought and paid for by the neocons. I mean, they will never propose anything that is in the national interest.
And I mean, you're saying neocon all the time, but we all know who owns the neocons, don't we? It's the same people who owns Goldman Sachs. It's the same people who own Rothschild SC, and so on, and BlackRock.
Well, there will be Jews and Gentiles, and
Oh yes, there are Gentiles absolutely at the top. And it is
I mean,
very much.
it's only arguable that that Jews are the servants of American imperialism.
Oh, come on now.
Well, I mean, the Israelis are pawns. I mean, they're being made to die for liberal democracy and not for their own principles. You know, they're the fools who are
Where?
being in
Where?
Israel.
In Israel.
Yes.
Israel governs American foreign policy through AIPAC. Everyone knows that.
Well, I would say that Israel is an American colony.
That's nonsense. It's the other way around. You watch the interviews with Richard Nixon, and that's going back some time now. And he was quite forthright that America always has to protect Israel, and it doesn't matter who's in charge, whether it's the Democrats or the Republicans, they will always be loyal to Israel, and they will always protect its interests and its sovereignty. That's
Do you
Richard Nixon.
remember a video of
And
Biden saying
every president,
there is a reason for
or
this?
rather, I should say, every candidate for the presidency has to go before AIPAC and pretty much swear fealty. You'll see it, for
Yes,
example.
but this is a deliberate process to make sure that American presidential candidates do not forswear American imperialism. For purely geopolitical reasons, Israel is of strategic importance to Americans because it's where the oil is. Israel is there to keep an eye on the Gulf states, the oil-rich Gulf states.
No, that's utter nonsense. You have no idea about how Israel was founded through the Zionist movement, if that's your opinion.
Well, the Zionists were enabled by Nazi persecution. The
No,
call
that's
for a Jewish homeland
putting
became
putting the
impossible
horse
to
that's
deny
putting the horse
after
before the
World War
cart.
II.
That's putting the horse before the cart. The Zionist movement was founded in the 19th century. Utterly
Yes,
ridiculous.
I know, but it was denied. Various places were proposed, such as Uganda and Madagascar.
Well, they were, but it was settled on Israel for several reasons actually. One, there were already Jews there, but they were small in number. Other reasons, well, basically it was Lord Rothschild who specified that it was going to be Palestine. Well, it wasn't even Palestine at that point. It was just a part of the Ottoman Empire. But
Well, you must. Yes.
but the area that the Romans called Palestine, and of course the Jews had as Judea and Israel, and it was settled upon that for, well, quasi-religious reasons. It's very odd actually, because quite a number of the Zionist leaders were actually secular and didn't believe it, but certainly they believed in the idea that there had to be a sort of mythology at the back of it.
Well, of course, because this whole, Holocaust denial thing. I know people think it's the Jews, but actually, Jews in Israel can't deny their own Holocaust, which is kind of a joke, because if it's their Holocaust, they should be the ones. They should be allowed to deny it. But this is a post-war narrative that the British government has a particular interest in imposing on its own people. I'm just old enough to remember my history teacher, Mr. Beeching, saying that if the British knew that they were fighting a Second World War after only recently fighting the First World War to save the Jews, they would have downed tools. And he didn't agree with the narrative being promoted by the British government that Britain sacrificed its empire to save the Jews. He said that the British, if they knew that that was what they were fighting for, would have downed tools and refused to fight. And then he started talking about war weariness during the interwar years.
I'm sorry, I have no idea what you're talking about, the point that you're making there.
Well, let me continue. I am saying that the British government would have found difficulty explaining to the British people after World War II what it was all about, considering that they lost their empire.
It was nothing to do with the Jews, the Second World War, and our involvement in it. It was to do with German imperialism.
It was a war of rival empires. Britain saw Germany rising up and was anxious
We're back to World
stop
War
them.
One then now. We're back to World War One then now, not World War Two.
Well, World War One was really about the Berlin to Baghdad railway that would have bypassed Britain's control of the sea lanes. So that obviously the British didn't like that. I mean, we were told it was something to do
It's
with
to
the
do with-
Archduke Franz Ferdinand getting assassinated in Serbia and all that. But really, it was the building of the Berlin to Baghdad railway that the Germans were building that prompted Britain to go to war.
No, it was to do with many things. I mean, what prompted Britain? The thing that really prompted Britain to go to war was the invasion of Belgium, because we'd always sort of protected Belgium because it was right on our doorstep.
They had to dig very hard.
Want a superpower right next to us, like Germany. But there were many reasons anyway for the First World War. But what's the point you're making with the Jews here? Because that seems to be completely lost somehow. I have absolutely no idea what you're saying.
Well, if
about the
I can
war.
be allowed to make my point, it will become clear. So I'm saying the British government were terribly embarrassed after World War II, after losing their empire. What were they going to say to the British people? That we picked two fights with Germany, declared war twice on Germany, lost, really didn't do very well at all in the First World War, and basically thought that this time they were going to finish Germany off. And it has been said by a historian who periodized the First and Second World War as the Second 30 Years' War, meaning that it was all part of the same war with the purpose of subduing Germany, which was a rising empire. And when this attempt to suppress Germany failed, they had to explain it to the British people about the loss of empire, because Britain really didn't have anything to show for it. It was a Pyrrhic victory, shall we say.
But what's this got to do with Israel and Palestine?
Well, Britain had the Palestine Mandate, and well, okay, there was this I don't know if you've heard of British Israelism. Have you heard of British Israelism? Probably not.
Yes, some of the leaders in the Mandate of Palestine had that sort of idea. I've forgotten which of them now. Forgotten. There's one particular one who was a colonel, if I remember rightly, but he sort of was very much on the Jew side, and he had that sort of British Israelism idea.
Well, if I may just tell you what I think that the whole purpose of it was. So it was a created religion, created by the British Empire, hoping to interest Gentiles in Britain into thinking they were really the Jews, in order to go and live in Israel and people the colony of Israel, until because after the First World War, Britain acquired the Palestine Mandate after the Ottoman Empire fought on the wrong side and lost the war. So Britain in 1918 acquired the Palestine Mandate and thought that, well, we've got this sort of very strategic piece of land, we're going to people it with our people. And that was the point of British Israelism. But the project did not come to fruition because of Britain's loss of empire. And they had to leave Israel anyway. And this imperial project passed on to America, and it began to be called Anglo-Israelism. And it's all part of the Schofield Bible and Christian Zionism, because the idea was to make American Gentiles go and people the American colony of Israel, and then they thought, no, there's no need for us to do that. Well, if the Jews want to go and live in Israel, we'll get them to people our colony, and we'll just have to pay for their defense, and we'll own them. And this is basically what has happened in Israel. I mean, why is it a liberal democracy? Why has it got all the woke stuff that we have?
Right,
It's another 51st state of America.
Right, I'm going to sort of come in now because, that stuff about settling Israel and everything is utter nonsense. All British Israelism is basically the belief that we are this, that we in Britain are descended from Jewish stock, which is utter nonsense, of course. It's this idea that you get this actually in some of sort of autistic people on the so-called right, this idea we're the real Jews, and these other Ashkenazis are imposters, that kind of thing. But there was no attempt to settle Israel at all.
No, because because of Britain's loss of empire. They had to.
It had nothing to do with that. Certainly the loss of empire only really started after the Second World War, not after the First. After the First, there were plans to start giving back the empire, but it wasn't anything really to do with the loss of the First World War. It was simply because it was too expensive to maintain, and equally there was a growing feeling among people that it was somehow immoral, which had a lot to do with things like the Boer Wars and stuff like that. But no, this is absolutely nothing to do with what happened in Israel. The mandate was created, as everyone knows, after the Balfour Declaration, when we basically supported the idea of a Zionist state in the Mandate of Palestine. And in return for that, Lord Rothschild basically gave us enough money to bail us out of the First World War. So he basically held Britain to ransom. That's basically the story of the creation of Israel. And of course, after that, what you had was this precarious situation where we had peacekeeping forces in the Mandate who were constantly subjected to terrorism, particularly by Jewish terrorist groups like the Haganah and the Stern Gang and the Irgun and so on. So this didn't stop, of course, during the Second World War. People forget about that just because we were at war with Nazi Germany and they were supposedly anti-Jewish and so on, the Jews did not stop their terrorist atrocities against the British forces. We, of course, had our ambassador Lord Moyne, who was assassinated in 1944. And people forget about that, among many other terrorist atrocities, of course.
Well, I think the Israeli terrorists must have sensed that Britain's time was up and just hurried the British troops along by committing acts of terrorism to make them, well, leave Israel sooner rather than later.
Well, yes, of course, that was the point of it. I mean, there's always a point to terrorism. But we must never forget that Israel is a terrorist state and it was founded on terrorism. And it also has, as I say, an unhealthy influence in the world.
In what way? Because it represents liberal democracy in the Middle East?
Well, no, because I don't care about liberal democracy. I'm not for liberal democracy.
But the Israelis are being forced to die for liberal democracy, aren't they?
Don't be so silly.
Oh, well, that's what's happening, and disgracefully, the Jews don't even know that they're being, used as pawns by the American imperialists.
I don't think that's even worth a reply, is it?
Well,
David,
you
David,
prefer to
if I
be
could
the
intervene here,
the victims.
if I could intervene, David, do you have any anecdotes of Claire from the London Forum or anything like that you could give us?
Not really, because in public she's actually very quiet.
Okay. But you're familiar with her, yeah?
I've seen her. I've never talked to her in real life. I've seen her at the London Forum, but obviously she would only be sort of an adversary rather than someone I would talk to. I certainly wouldn't share a drink with her or anything.
Interesting. How did you find the stream, by the way?
Explain Anglo-Israelism, but I don't know if you want to.
I don't really want to get into an artistic discussion about that kind of stuff, really. I think it was going into the weeds, really. We can talk about that forever. How did you find my stream, David?
It came up, actually, on my recommendations.
Wow, probably.
And so I clicked on to see what it was all about, and seemed to be. I'll be honest, I'd never heard of you before, and so I'll see what kind of things you've been up to after today.
God forbid.
But you were talking about sort of immigration and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's. I mean, the thing is to sort of leave this on a positive note about immigration is that, and we can sort of use Israel as an example here. Don't forget that Israel is a very young country, and it has basically pushed out all the Arabs, and of course they're finishing the job now. Because the Jews have a will to do so. All you have to do is to create that will, and you can reverse immigration. It's all a matter of will, really, and this is what I try to do. I try to sort of look at what will give us the most will, and I think that we're hamstrung by things like Christianity because it has a very nihilistic and self-destructive morality to it. And very much sort of it's all about forgiving the other and all that kind of nonsense. And so I would like to get rid of that. I think that one of the good things that liberalism has done is to destroy Christianity, and that's a good thing in my book. And liberalism is not it's very weak. It can be pushed aside. The question is what comes after it. It's not about liberalism because that cannot subsist, because it'll be destroyed internally on its own contradictions. The point is what comes after that. And so this is what concerns me.
Yeah, some kind of technocracy or Islam, as I see it. Unfortunately.
Well, no, that's a very negative way of looking
Yeah,
at
I'm
it.
black-pilled, by the way, David, very much so.
Well, I don't take pills, you see, that's the difference.
Well, I'm drug-free too. I'm straight edge. I don't take any drugs or drink. But that's just a turn of phrase.
I know these analogies which come from the
Yes.
Matrix, which is a very bad
Subversive.
trilogy. It's a quadrilogy now, isn't it? Films. I would suggest that you watch Dark City instead. Now that's a good film, and it's actually
Okay.
and it was actually the sets used for it were afterwards used for the Matrix. Dark City came first, and it's a much superior film.
Okay, I'll take that recommendation.
It's well worth watching. You should watch it. Everyone should watch Dark City because it has a lot of subtle and not so subtle messages in it, which are far better than the ones in the Matrix. And I'll leave you with that thought. So,
all right, thank you for coming on, David.
I wish you a good Yule, and bye for now.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Bye, David.
Appreciate you coming on. Once again, I'll share David's channel there. I was aware of David from... I was already subscribed to his channel. So, interesting there. I think I was aware of him because he may have spoken about millennial woes in the past. And so his channel
really?
popped up on mine.
Oh.
I think so. So how did you feel about that, Claire Core, getting challenged on the spot?
Well, I think David wants to feel himself to be a victim of Jews, because that would justify his quite transparent anti-Semitism. Is that a word I'm allowed to say? Without people
let's
falling
not call.
around and having hissy fits?
Let's not label people anti-Semites who've been willing enough just to come on here. So
it's okay. Some of my
we're going to
best
take
friends
that.
are
No, I don't like.
anti-Semites.
No, I don't like it. I don't like labeling people that. In the United Kingdom, it has legal consequences. You know that.
No, actually, you're still allowed to be an anti-Semite.
Well, I don't.
Not allowed to infringe on
Anyway, look.
the Communications
Anyway.
Act 2003. And be
Anyway,
grossly
it has
offensive.
societal consequences. Look, we're going to get out of here. I'm going to extend my apologies to Vincent for not letting him on, because I don't want to go into the autistic
Yeah, he
weeds
doesn't
of
want
that
Yeah.
conversation. We're nearly at 3 hours already.
Yes.
I think we had a good chat. We kept 50 viewers live. So if people don't get it, why I have Claire on, she's a good foil for me. Okay, so it kind of works, doesn't it, Claire?
Oh yes, I think so. I mean, the opposition.
We're antagonistic.
The opposition works.
we're
It'd be
antagonistic.
just terrible if we just agreed the whole time. Huh?
Exactly. We're antagonistic. It started like that. She was willing to do this. So I need somebody to talk to, a foil, and Claire's been kind enough to do it. You wouldn't have me here if you're interested. If you think I have any potential whatsoever in doing this kind of thing, you wouldn't have me doing it at all. If it wasn't for Claire, ironically, in a strange way, everybody. So I don't know what to tell you. All right.
Did I start you on your YouTube career? Surely not.
Well, you were my first time, Claire.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh,
You're the first person I talked to on the internet.
okay. I didn't know. Wow.
Yes.
Well, thank you
And
for
here we
having
are.
me. It's been
Yes.
great. we talked about so many things, and it was good that David just popped up to have a go at me.
Yes, if anybody else would like to come and throw eggs at Claire Court in the future, she's more than willing to sit in the stocks and have them thrown at you, aren't you?
Yes, and dodge them and throw them back and all that.
All right, everybody, that's been it. If you can give this stream a thumbs up, that would be really, really super duper. It would help the algorithm and all that good stuff. I don't know when we're going to stream or when I'm going to stream again. Might be just some phone streams over this weekend or next week. I don't know. But we'll see how it goes. Claire, do you have any last words before we get out of here?
Yes. Please go to Odyssey to see the rest of Millleniyule, and maybe Alex, Linda might come
Holy
to
shit.
Millleniyule on Odyssey. So please subscribe. I've had a few new subscribers, but the views are still a bit low. But I promise you, my streams are not prearranged. People can say anything within reason, and I hope you will enjoy some of the Millleniyule streams that you do manage to view. Thank you very much.
There's the link. That's the place that she was talking about. She's doing them on Odyssey. She's got Andy Nowicki in a couple of days, and she's going to be, God forbid, talking to Alex, Linda.
Oh yes, Colin Liddell. Colin, I think I've just sent you a tweet. But anyway, perhaps Colin Liddell will come on now that Andy Nowicki is coming along.
I doubt that will encourage him. But
well, I feel I have to ask anyway.
Yeah. Colin, I told Claire that you liking her comment on your blog meant that you wanted to go on Millleniyule, so blame me for that one. All right. I think that's it, everybody. Appreciate you, and see you in the next one. Bye-bye, Claire.
And happy Millleniyule to you all. Bye-bye.
It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again. Because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds? Who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who, at the best, knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who, at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat.
All right, get out of here, everybody. Appreciate you. See you in the next one.